So today I'm going to talk about Redux-Saga, and let's see how we can install the Redux-Saga and the application, and how we can work with the APIs. Right, so here you can see an example. Here I will simply go to the desktop. So I have my desktop here, so I simply go to the desktop here, and guys, I have created a folder name that is a practice, so I will go to that folder. So in this folder, what I need to do, I just need to create a React app. So I will write simple npx create React app, and the app name that I want to talk about is Redux-Saga, so we'll write it Redux-Saga demo. That's all. So this will take some time for me to set up the application. In the meantime, guys, I just need to open this folder. So I just open the Visual Studio Code, in which I will be opening the same folder. In the code, I will simply go to the open. I need to open the desktop, and I have this practice folder in which I have Redux-Saga demo, and I will open it. Now you can see I have only one package.json file as of now, so we have to just wait for some time so that I can see other files also. So guys, I need to install some packages, so I will be installing npm install react redux. I need redux, I need Redux-Saga, and guys, for API call I just need an axios. I'm going to save it. So after checking all the things that I have terminal, right, so I checked everything that nothing is required furthermore with this thing. I'm just closing this file and just install this some packages. So let's see and how I install these packages. So just write npm install and the package name react redux, redux-saga and axios. Now the package has been installed. I don't have to do furthermore, so I just need to write npm start so that I can start my application. So you can see that the application has been started in the localhost 3000 port, so it's quite easy for me and for all of you to understand what exactly this does for me, right? So apart from this thing, now what I have to do further, so just to make some APIs or call to APIs, I just going to show on a demo here. So in this whole bunch of things, I just need to write some folders, and I'm going to create one folder in the source, that is our Redux. So this Redux will contain whatever state I want to use, and to work with the reducers actions I will be writing here, right? So in this reducer Redux, I am going to create another folder which I want to write reducers. So this reducers, I need another folder in the Redux, so I'm going to create actions. In the same folder, guys, I'm going to do some more things later on, but not right now. So in the actions, I want to create simple that there is something I'm going to talk about user action. So I will write user action .js. I want to go to the reducer. So guys, in the reducer, I'm going to create another file that is index.js. And the same reducer, guys, I'm going to create another file that is user reducer.js. So this is the structure till now, so we will talk about other things later, right? So let's have a look now where I have to start. So guys, I will start from the actions, right? What I need to do, guys, so in the actions, I think we all know about Redux. So action is a plain object, right? It's a plain object, or I can say action is a function that returns a plain object, right, that contains a key name as type. So action should contain a type key, so that is something Redux has mentioned, right? So I will be writing some function here, so let me write export function, and I want to write it something get user, and this function returns an object that contains a type and it has something get user. So this is all I will be writing about my get user, right? In the meantime, the same thing, I have another function that I'm going to use, that is my set user. Quite easy to understand. Okay, this set user will simply set the data about the user, so I want to write set user data, right? And the same thing, guys, I need some data for that I can set for the user, so I need some data, right? So I just need a user data. So whenever we deal with Redux, we use a payload, right? And the payload says that I have to pass the data about the user. So that's all about the two functions, or I can say two actions that we have created. One is set user, one is get user, right? So get user action, and one is our set user action. So that's all about my actions. Now talk about reducers. So talking about the user reducer, so I'm going to simply create const initial state equals to, so guys, I'm going to just get a user, so I will be simply writing this parenthesis, so it makes sense to me that I'm going to talk about a single object that contains nothing, right, or empty object. So here I just need to create another function, so I will write export, and I need to just pass the function, so I can export default, and this is going to use a reducer, so that's a reducer for me. This reducer takes up two things, that is state, and guys, for the very first time when I start with this reducer to get called up, I wanted the state to be initial state, or I can say empty object. Apart from this thing, guys, it takes another thing, that is an action parameter. So I think we all know what is an action for me, and guys, after this action I just need to mention something, that I have to write some switch statements, or you can use if condition, that's up to you, right? So in this function that I'm going to write, I hope just mention forgot about the function. So this function has some action, so in the action I want to check for the type. So this switch will do some logic, right? So I will write something, a logic to check for the types, right? And I have to just pass something, a default value. So what going to gives at the default, so I just want to send my state data. So till now nothing is much I'm going to do here, just a simple thing. This is a function, dex state of state, that's another thing, that's an action, and according to the action type I'm going to do some kind of logic or manipulation with the state data, right? So here this is just a default thing, that is state, that I'm going to pass from the function reducer. Okay, coming out from this file, now this another file that we have reducers, and we have a file name as index. So in this thing I'm going to use a very simple thing, that I'm going to write export, and I want to write a default, and I want to write combine reducers. Okay, this combine reducer is a function that takes up something, you can see reducers or reducer map object. So I just need to pass some object, and I want to write user. For this user I have my user reducer. So this user reducer will come from my file that is mentioned user reducer, so I will simply import that file. So import user reducer from, I will write simply dot slash user reducer. So this user is now going to give the data for the state for this user reducer. So this is all about our Redux reducer and Redux action. Now we forgot to mention, I hope we all know that Redux takes up something, a store. So guys, in this Redux we have something about my action and the reducer. So in the source folder I'm going to create another file that name as store.js. So whenever we talk about Redux, right, so we need to create a store from where we can get the data. Coming to this thing, guys, I just need to write const store equals to, I have a function of my Redux that is create store. So I will write create store and it needs the reducer, so I just need to pass reducer. And guys, the reducer that I'm going to get is something from my another import, so I will write import. I need reducer from my dot slash. I have a folder name Redux, so in the Redux I have another folder name reducers, and I'm done. So you can see guys, when I write this slash reducer, it simply says that I will look for my index file. That's the reason behind that. I have a reducer that contains index file. So this index file will return this combine reducer, so my store will get the combine reducer data as a reducer. So that's all about my reducers as of now. So just to make sure about my thing that it is working, I just need to write export default store. So we are done with the store guys, nothing else to do. Let's check it out how it works, right? So till now guys, in my application, if I check it out, everything is fine without any worry and anything else apart from this logo. Now I have created some actions, I have created some reducers, right? So now it's time for my store to be given to my application. Going to the index file. So I don't know whatever I have to do, I just need to create a provider. So this provider is going to give everything to my what I can say to my application. So provider that will come from a React Redux, right? So in this provider I just need to make sure about this thing. So I just need to get it from my import, and I have my React Redux. So from this thing guys, I just need to get my provider, so I will write provider, right? And that's all what I need to do. So provider, you are done. Can you please help me? And this provider requires guys something from you. That this provider will ask about a store, right? And that will be great if I write it here somewhere. So right now if I just check for this provider that I have given here, but you can see guys on the very front right side there is nothing to show. So I'm getting some error over here, right? So if I check for the errors, you can see in the inspect element, you will see console and store is undefined. So it says cannot read properties of undefined reading get state. So right now we don't have anything passed as the store parameter or store attribute. So I just need to write store, that is the attribute that the provider needs. And guys, for this store I have to get it somewhere from my store, that is somewhere, I hope we all remember. You have to write import. It's somewhere mentioned in my source folder. So I will write simple dot slash and store.js. So if everything is fine, we will look into other things. So I hope if something is not wrong with the thing. So let me just check for the store.js what I did wrong. So here we have reducer that takes up a store and create store from. Something is really bad from this part because it has to write import create store from Redux. Okay, so everything is fine in this thing. So let me just check with error. So I hope in my reducers too I have to check for the things. So everything is fine. Yeah. So guys, I just need to mention guys, I have to pass the return word because we forgot to mention it. Now nothing is difficult here to understand, everything is fine, no errors and no worries. So let's talk about now the things what I have to do, right? So guys, my main objective of this application is that in my app.js file, if I just open this app.js file, it should show me some data about the user, right? So apart from this whole header, so I just need to remove it from here, right? And I just need to see some data, right? So I just want to show me the user data. Okay, so I just need to show the user data here. So let's see how we can show it. So what I need, when I just open this web page, right, I just need to see the data about my user, or when I click on some button I need to see the data of the user. So let's check it out what I can do. So show me the data for the user. I just need a button after this thing, guys. So I'm creating a button, right? So this button will give me the data. So simple as that. So in this button I will simply paste the content that I have copied, right? So show me the data. When I click on this button, I should show the data to the user. Now assuming that I can show the data very clearly, there's nothing much I have to do here, right? But the data that I want to show about the user is coming from where, right? So let me just once again check it out. In the user reducer, guys, we have to send the data, right now the state data is empty. So I am going to write a logic about it. So whenever there is a case when I want to write a set user, whenever there is a case I want to write a set user, I want to return whatever data I have in the state. And guys, I will get one more data, whatever data I will get from the action node payload, right? So this action node payload will give me the data about user. So here in the set user, I will take some data from the user, just like const user equals to action dot payload. Now why I'm writing this action dot payload here, I hope we can have a look on our actions. So when I say I'm going to hit a function set user, this set user data is the type, and I will get a payload that is user, right? So here that is the reason behind it I'm writing this thing, and this case is actually set user data. Now nothing is much difficult for me to understand. Let's try to see how it works for me, right? So here if I click on this button, I need data. So coming to my index.js or this app.js file, so I just need to click on the button. So guys, when I on click on the button, when I click on the button, I need something to happen, right? So when I click on this button, I need something to happen. So what I need, guys, I just need to call up some function. So let me see, get data, right? So I want to call this function get data. I hope we all know that how we can get the function call data, right? So this function should come. So there's no function, so let me just define it here. So const get data, like this thing. So this is a function that does something for me. So what I need to do, guys, so whenever I need some data, right, so I need to call some API. I can get the data later on, but right now I just need to write a dispatch, right? So guys, here if I need to write a dispatch, I have to write this use dispatch thing so that I can take it out from the React Redux. So import React Redux. So guys, this use dispatch that I want to use is something use dispatch, and I'm going to use one more thing, use selector, so that I can get the data. So I need to write const user equals to use selector. This use selector will take up something a state, and the state I need state dot user data. So let us try to set console.log of user, what I get, right? So let's try to see about this thing as well. So if I check everything, there is no error, and but let's see what exactly I get in the console about the user, right? So I can say this is an empty object. So guys, this is an empty object, and I hope this is nothing much difficult for me to understand. The initial state of the user was empty, right? So I just need to see some data about it. So in the user, right, so initial state is empty, so I can write a name as Kuldeep as the name. So if I write something as a Kuldeep as a name, you will see a data name Kuldeep, right? It means the data is coming from the reducer. Now in the app.js, guys, what I need to do, I just need to check it out the user is not empty, right? So something I have to show the data, right? So I can write some data about it, or I can say conditional rendering here. So something like this thing, I can say user dot name, right? If the username user dot name exists, right, I can say something like this thing. If the user dot name exists somewhere, I can write and I want to write some data, I want to show some data, so I want to show the data about the user, so I will say h1 something the user dot name. This is what I want to do. I want to show up, right? So you can see the name is Kuldeep and it's getting up here. So now if I get some data about the Kuldeep, or that's data is quite easy for me to understand, right? So nothing is difficult for me to see. Now if I just remove the data Kuldeep from here, let's expect some data to be rendered or not. So there's no data because there's nothing about Kuldeep, right? So there's nothing I have to worry about. Now the point is I need to set the data, right? So guys, I need to set the data. So I say get the data. I need to get some data from the API, something like that. But yeah, right now we are not talking about APIs. So let's see an example over here, right? So I just need to dispatch a method. So dispatch an action actually. I want to dispatch an action. Which action I want to dispatch? Set user, right? So I want to dispatch a function set user. If I'm not wrong, it is somewhere in the user action. So this should be come up here. So I just need to write set user. It should come up from the action. Yep. And this action requires one thing. So you can see guys, this set user action requires a user data. So I'm passing a data about user that let it be named as YouTube, right? And something about its last name or nothing like that. Last name, that could be something mobile number. So I just need to pass some mobile number, random something like this is the mobile number for that person, and we are good to go. So let's check it out whether we can see the user data or not, right? So we are trying to access the data over here, but when I click on the button only, so we can see the data is YouTube, right? So we are very clear about the thing that we can show the data as this h1 is working fine. I can write mobile as well, so this mobile 2 can be written, right? So when we write something like this thing guys, I hope you all remember that in the Redux in the React actually you cannot write two siblings, right? So it's just the way I'm going to write it. So we can see YouTube and I click on the button, I will get the data, right? It's quite easy to understand guys that I am getting the data about the user very well. So what should I do further now? So this is all about my React Redux, nothing about Saga, and how I can work with the Saga, how I can get data about the Saga. We have to look for that, right? So I hope this is all clear for everyone that what I have done here and how I'm getting the data about the user, right? There is nothing much I have to do. Now the app.js file that I've created is using React Redux only, right? So I need to use something that is known as Redux-Saga. So let's talk about that now. In the meantime, the actions and the reducer that I have created is all okay. There's nothing much I have to do here, but we need to create another folder named as sagas. So in the sagas guys, what I'm going to do, I just need to create some subfolders. I'm going to use some requests, right? Or I can say something API request. I'm going to use it here. In the sagas, I want to create something known as the handlers. And in the sagas guys, I want to create one more file that is our index.js. The same way I created in the reducers, we have index.js. In the sagas also, we have index.js. So what is API request and how I'm going to handle it? So guys, the API request that I'm going to use is that how I want to get the data, from where I can get the data. So in the API request guys, I need to get some data about the user. So I can say user API.js. So from where I will get the data. So guys, for this thing I have to go simple, this JSON, or I can say fake JSON data. You will get something of fake JSON data. So this is the one of the website from where I'm going to get the data. So guys, what I need the data about the user, right? So here you can see users. So guys, if I say users, you are getting 10 users, but I don't want it 10, I want it only one. So I will write /1 for this part, and you will get the very first user from this, right? So I will simply copy this URL, and this is actually that I require. Now if I say this user API, so guys, I have to just write some sort of lines and I'm done with this thing. So I will write export default get user data from API, like this. So this is a function that I want to create. So get this is a function, and this is API. I just need to return one thing here. So return, I want to write axios dot, and guys, let me just get it, axios dot get method, and this is the URL that I want to hit. That's all I have to do here. So guys, this function is exactly very clear for everyone that what I'm writing here. So just writing axios.get, get the data from this URL, and you're done. You don't have to do anything, right? So guys, when I write this axios.get, it simply returns it. So whatever I'm going to return, guys, this is returning a promise, right? So if you don't understand what is a promise, just search for the internet and you will get promises, right? So this is all what I have to do in the user API. I'm done with this file. So apart from this thing, guys, I need to call something. I have a user handler, so I will write user handler dot js. So what is exactly the user handler does for me? So guys, user handler is going to get the data from that API, and it has to perform some action. So let's have to write some data about user action. So I will write export default. As of now, it's just a default. So export default get, or I can say user handler, and this is again a function, but guys, now it is not a simple function, it is a generator function. So I'm writing something star here. So this is the generator function now. So I'm writing this function star because I have to write some sort of lines, and please make sure you also do the same thing. I'm going to write const, and I will get some response, right? So const response, right? I will get some response. I'm going to write yield here, and guys, I have to use a method call. And this method call that I'm going to use here is coming from the Redux-Saga. So now we are talking about Redux-Saga. So let me just import some data from the Redux-Saga, and from Redux-Saga slash effects. So guys, I need to get some function. That is very first function is call. So guys, whenever I need something like I want to call some data, I want to call some asynchronous function. So guys, we have a call that creates an effect description that instructs the middleware to call the function fn with the args as arguments. So fn can be either a normal or generator function. It could be a normal or generator function. The middleware invokes the function and examines its result. So it waits for this result. If the result is an iterator object, the middleware will run the generator function just like it did with the startup generators. So guys, this is what I'm going to talk about. So here guys, this call function is going to help me to get a synchronous request. So I just need to do a synchronous request, guys, and that asynchronous request is very clear that I need to call the user API. Right, so guys, this user API I want to call it here. So I need to get it from my import, and I need this dot slash. I hope something is dot slash, or I can write, I'm not able to find it, API request slash user API. So guys, from here I just need to get a user API. Apart of this thing, guys, I just need to make sure that I should be somewhere below. And here, guys, this call is going to call this user API, and that's all. Now, after I get some data, guys, and there's something I need to write again, the try catch. You should write everything in the try catch so that you can handle the errors. So here, after I get this user API response, I need to get some data. So I will write const user equals to, I will get something from the response dot data. Now guys, after getting the data, what exactly I can do here, guys, there's a method, another method, that is put method. So this put method exactly does something for me, creates an effect description that instructs the middleware to dispatch an action to the store. So guys, what I need to do, I need to dispatch another action. So guys, right now I hope I need to just do one thing for me, dispatch that same action, that please use the data, right? So I hope if we talk about the app.js file, so this app.js file is dispatching some action that set user, and I'm sending some data, right? So right now here, if I need to send the same data for my user, I will simply say dispatch, and that action name is simple and very clear. I hope we all know, set user. The set user takes up some data that is user, so I will simply pass the user data from here, and that's all I have to write. And guys, one more word that is required, that is yield, yield. So that's all we have to write in my function user handler, and we are done with this thing. Just expecting some errors, so I can write something that console.log, whatever you get, just write it here in this thing, and we will come to know what exactly happened. Now this is all, and we are done with this thing, right? And talking about my index file of the sagas, so this index file of the sagas is somewhere written here. So what it does, so I'm going to create a watcher. So right now I have created some API requests in the user API. I have created some handler in the user handler. Now the task is to actually set up the watcher, or I can say separate thread. Here also I will write export default, and I can say saga watcher. That's what I use as the function name, guys. So function, and guys, every time I forgot this function saga watcher, and this function is again a generator, so I will write something like this thing. And what it does, it simply yield, and it simply does for me. It is another method, guys, I'm going to use here. So import, I need to import something from the Redux-Saga. From Redux-Saga, guys, I just need to import some module. That name module is take latest, if I'm not wrong here. So take latest, right? And that is Redux-Saga / effects. Yeah. So yield, I want to write simple take latest, and this take later, guys, I need to write some pattern. So I just need to write some pattern. So whenever user, or whenever this request get user, I need to call a handler. So guys, the next thing that I need to pass is the worker, or something I can say handler. I need to call the user handler here. That's what I require to do in this whole function. Nothing else more than that. Now we are done with this. So what I have to do furthermore, guys, let's try to see whether there's any error in the code or not, right? In the React tab, guys, there's nothing much I can see. Whenever I click on this button, it's really working for me, but there's no such more thing that I'm getting any data about this user that is mentioned here, right? So there's no data about this user. We are not able to see anything. So let's try to do some changes. In the app.js file, guys, I'm setting this thing, right? I can't do this dispatch. I need to dispatch something else. So I will simply dispatch another method that is actually, I need to call this get user. I hope we saw it up. So now when I do the dispatch of get user, just have a look here. What happens? Can we see, is there any data till now? So when I click on this button, there's nothing happening for me. Nothing is happening. So everything is fine for me. Nothing is different from the code. So what should I do? So guys, I wanted my saga to run, but if I wanted my saga to work, I have to do something in the store file. So till now our saga is a middleware, right? So our saga is a middleware, so add saga, right? So we need to add the saga here. So before I add saga, I have to write import create saga middleware, right? So I just need to create saga middleware from the Redux-Saga, something like this thing. So this create saga middleware is going to help me out. So I just write const saga middleware equals to this create saga middleware. That's all. So after this thing, guys, I need to this middleware. This is a middleware that I have to add. So I need some of my middleware. So I have a middleware here. So middlewares. So I just need to add this saga middleware as one of the middleware that I'm going to use it. After adding this middleware, guys, I need another thing. So here you can see that I can pass reducer, then I can pass enhancer, and guys, if I just write one more comma, then I can pass one more thing, that is a store enhancer, right? So for enhancer I don't have to pass anything, but the store enhancer I want to use something apply middleware function. So this apply middleware function takes up something a store enhancers. So I need to pass my enhancer, that is my middleware. So I will simply write like this way. So just some sort of lines you have to make sure that you're writing. So now in this, in apply middleware, I'm passing this middleware. So this is all I have to do. No, guys, after writing this whole line, let's have a look over it. So can we see any data comes up here? So there's no data. The one most important line that we have to mention, guys, about this thing is that we need to run our Saga middleware. And guys, it requires a method run, and this method run we have to pass something. Let us see what exactly I have to pass. It says run and saga, right? It says saga, a generator function dynamically run saga can be used to run sagas only after the apply middleware phase. So after apply middleware phase, I'm done. So this function requires a generator function. And guys, that generator function that we have created is the voucher saga, right? So I think that was a saga voucher. So saga voucher that we required to use it here. So it is not getting imported here. So let me just import. So import, and I need saga voucher from where it is something from my dot slash redux sagas, and we are done. So let's have a look what happens in my screen. Is there something wrong with my screen, or let's have a look with the data. So guys, I just had them click on the button, but it's not happening. But guys, it should come up, right? So let's have a look here and just see what exactly we have to follow. So here I'm writing something about my index that whenever there's a get user, right? So but there's nothing like an action. Just have a look on the actions. I hope you will come to know what exactly is wrong. So get user is not an action, it's the get user data. So I wanted this action to work actually. So I have to write whenever user says that I want to get the dispatch for this get user data. So whenever user dispatches action get user data type, then I should call this user handler function. So whenever user handler function gets called up, it should call the user API, and the user API will return the data from the axios. This data getting come up to the response. This response is getting come from the axios, right? And it returns something data to me, and I'm going to put in the user. And after putting the data in the user, please dispatch and set the user data. That's what we are doing here, guys. After writing this thing, I want to dispatch the data for the user, and when I set the user data or dispatch set user function, I hope we remember the set user function dispatches an event or action set user data type. So coming to the reducer, in the set user data type, if we talk about, we have to just pass the data and the state. And let's have a look on the files, and let's have a look on the main file once again. Control Shift F, and when I click on this thing, guys, I still see some data now, lean Graham. But now this data is coming from the API, and we are very glad that we are able to see the data. Now we were not able to see the phone number. The reason behind it is very clear. Let's have a look to the phone. It's not mobile, it's phone. So if I just simply update my app.js file with some word name as phone, I hope we are good to go. So we got the phone here, and nothing is quite difficult for me to get the data from the API using a Redux-Saga, and that's the same simple example. Now, if something went wrong, if I did something wrong with my API request, there's something wrong with my API. So if I have something user, I should get some error, right? So let's have a look here. I try to get the data, but there's some error happen. I can see axios error message request failed with the status code 404. So we are getting the error. So guys, for this error, if I need to fix some data from my own side, I think it's up to me. So in the user actions, if I create one more function like this thing, set user action, or I can say error on user action, I will write some function name as error user, something like this thing, set user data or set user error. I don't need to pass any payload here, it's up to me. So I just need to pass this site type error, right? So I just need to simple call this my error function. Now I have something about this thing, so I should write this about my case. So the case now I have here with me is this thing, and what I have to do here. So guys, in this case, if I have something, I will write return, and whatever data is there in the state, so please take up the data for the state, and I want to pass some more data here. And what data I want to pass, guys? I can say error, right? And guys, this error that I want to pass is something went wrong. That's what I want to write, something went wrong. It's up to me. No one will ask me why Kuldeep you're writing this way or not like that way. It's up to me. So now if I get something went wrong, that's in the user, right? So if I see this error, so I can check for this thing, right? So in the app.js file, right, the same way I have written here, so I will simply copy and paste it on the top somewhere, right? If I just simply say error, nothing like name or anything, if there's some error, I will simply write some sort of lines, and let me just fix it here. So I will write h1, I can say error, right? So here guys, I will write some error here. So guys, now from where I'm getting this error? So it is coming from the user.error. Okay, let's have a look here and we check it out once again. Can we see something over here? So guys, I tried my best to get the data, but we are getting this error here somewhere, and let me just check for the state data what we are getting here. If I'm not wrong, this user data that we are getting from the state, okay, got it.